Welcome to Legal AF. I'm Dave Aronberg, a.k.a. the Florida LawMan, here with the Resident Legal Diva, Melba Pearson. We're both former prosecutors. She's a former ACLU lawyer, so she's got it from both sides. And now we're together to talk about Jimmy Kimmel and Howard Stern. So with all the talk about Jimmy Kimmel's suspension and now return, there's one name we haven't heard much from, Howard Stern, who is a good friend of Jimmy Kimmel, and Howard Stern, who has been a First Amendment advocate over the years, was strangely silent until he finally broke it and spoke up. First question to you, Melba Pearson. What do you make of Howard Stern's silence in all this? And then we'll talk about what he said, but because he said that since the election, he's not going to talk politics anymore. Is that a profile in courage, or what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure as to why he was delaying what was going on. I mean, there's an argument to be made. Maybe he was using his influence behind the scenes to try and lobby folks and be like, hey, this isn't okay. This is, very, very destructive to our democracy. It's destructive to our entire media ecosystem. So there's a giving him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was doing some stuff behind the scenes. And when he saw that there was no forward motion to be had, he figured he'd bring his case to the people. I don't know, but I would have preferred for him to weigh in earlier, because this is something that you can't just let simmer and fester, right? You have to nip it in the bud and be like, nope, nope, nope. This runs afoul of the First Amendment. Stop. And when Tucker Carlson got in before you to say that this ran afoul, this suspension of Jimmy Kimmel ran afoul of the First Amendment, bro, you need to look at your game. You need to up your game. I need better from you, please.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson, I guess a broken clock can be right twice a day.
That part.
What an ingrate that guy is. I mean, he's the worst of the worst. I mean, he's at Charlie Kirk's funeral, he's talking about how Jews killed Jesus. I mean, what an anti-Semite that guy is. But that's another video for another day.
And I'll happily do that video with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Happily.
Unbelievable, this guy. So as far as Howard Stern, I understand, because he was vehement about his views before the election. He was friends with Donald Trump, and then he spoke out against Trump. That's a lot more than most friends of Donald Trump have done. So I don't want to bash him too hard. I mean, I think he did get a lot of flack for speaking up, including from Trump himself. And I think that's what led him to say, okay, now the election's over, I'm not talking politics anymore. But here he finally said, this was on his show on Monday, that he was going to break his vow not to talk about politics, saying, I can no longer keep my mouth shut. Quote, I feel obligated to say something because, he said, shit's getting out of control. We're a family show, but, we can use the expletive every now and then, Melba. He has famously been a free speech advocate for more than half a century. This all comes from Yahoo News. Quote, this involves the network ABC. They did something really dumb and effing horrible. Okay. He didn't say effing. And then he went into a classic fake out bit complaining about the changes to the network's dating show, The Bachelor. Everyone knows what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. The bottom line is you really don't need my voice to know that something horrible happened at ABC. Stern said about the network's decision to temporarily suspend Kimmel's show from the air. And he said, I believe Jimmy is such a big talent, and quite frankly, so is his wife. They're two of the funniest people I've ever met, Stern said, noting he is so enamored with the couple's comedic chops that he shuts down around them so as not to try to compete with their quick wit. Noting that many people have written to him asking, what should we do? Stern said, he is doing something. Melba, what do you think?
That something is canceling his Disney Plus subscription. And so what was interesting to me as all of this was unfolding is that we didn't see that concerted effort to do a boycott like we've seen in other instances. So for instance, I think about Pastor Jamal Bryant, who led the boycott against Target once they ended their DEI initiatives. And Target's now their foot traffic is in the toilet, their sales are in the toilet, the CEOs, catching hell behind it, right? So I was really surprised that when Jimmy Kimmel was removed off the air the way that he was, that there wasn't this groundswell. I mean, I think I saw something that 400 I guess, entertainers signed a petition in support of Jimmy Kimmel, but I'm not seeing that same level of outrage and grassroots intensity around this that's needed so that, again, the government understands, as well as private entities, like, listen, if you go on bended knee to this administration, your pocketbook is going to suffer. Right? Like, because that sadly is what corporate America responds to. So in having high profile people like Howard Stern and others coming out and being like, it's not okay. And by the way, we're boycotting Disney. I mean, I think I read that one showrunner said he won't work with Disney, but imagine if multiple showrunners were like, we're not going to work with Disney, and multiple talents like, no, not going to work with Disney. They would have to change their position super quickly. So
I think you see by the fact that they reinstated Jimmy Kimmel pretty quickly that the threats of boycotts, the complaining have all worked. I mean, even when you saw Ted Cruz saying this is ridiculous,
I'm telling you,
right. I mean, because people on the right, they know that if you start setting this precedent now, then if there's a Democratic president, and there will be one again one day,
because we will have elections. we will.
I really do believe yes. I do. Although there'll be some shenanigans until then, but you don't want to set that precedent. And for a group of people who are always complaining about the fight, the suppression, the cancel culture, well, you're doing cancel culture. You're doing the woke from the right here, where you're suppressing people because of what they say. So this is what Howard Stern said. It's a scary time when the government starts threatening you, which is not right. And I don't think ABC should have to be in this position. It's ridiculous. But I know most broadcasters would agree with me. I don't care what they broadcast, whether they're right-wing types or left-wing types, whatever type you are, we can't have the government in this country dictating speech. So, he's made his point clear, and that's a good thing. And I do think that finally it looks like this is a bridge too far. When Stephen Colbert was taken off the air, people complained, but that decision wasn't reversed. When CBS and ABC settled with Trump, paying him millions of dollars in a dubious way, that didn't change either. Here, something changed. So something happened here that's different than before.
Yeah, and like I said, I am with you, Dave. I think things happen behind the scenes that we're just not aware of. Like, people with real power and influence were like, no, this can't stand, right? Because again, like when you have Tucker Carlson, Senator Cruz, Ben Shapiro, like all of these right-wing voices who, there's usually plenty of daylight between their views and the left, right? But they're coming out and being like, no, we know when the pendulum swings, and if it swings, the other way, we're on the chopping block. So it's in our best interest. It behooves us to fight on behalf of everyone and make sure everyone has free speech, because if not, no one has free speech. That's really what it boils down to.
You're right, Melba. And, someone today on TV said that perhaps what the FCC commissioner did was similar to, if you ever watch The Sopranos. You ever watch The Sopranos?
Listen, did I watch The Sopranos? Number one. Number two, I grew up in New York. Right. I grew up in New Rochelle. Like,
I
know a little bit about mob life. I'm just saying.
Okay. You've been to the Bada Bing, oh, maybe not.
Well, that too. That's a different chapter.
Well, you remember there was that episode of The Sopranos where you had the young guy who was trying to impress Tony.
Yep.
And he tried to kill Chris Maltasano. Remember that? And
mm-hmm.
Tony was outraged. Well, perhaps this is something similar. We have the FCC chair say, okay, I'm going to impress the boss and I'm going to take this guy down. Now, in this case, it did please the boss, but then the blowback is something spectacular. And I wonder if by the end of this, if Trump will refer to the FCC guys as just a coffee boy, just as like, I don't know who that is. I never met him.
I talk to lots of people. I talk to people every day. I don't know this guy. I think on this one, I think because the FCC chair really did his bidding in such an effective way in terms of he got all this praise, and it spoke to the time frame that we were in terms of the funeral was about to happen. The folks on the right were really mad, and who's going to be our new standard bearer and all of that. The FCC chair acted in a way that kind of calm their fears, like, oh yes, our guy's in power and he's going to take care of it. So I don't see that the president is going to penalize the FCC chair in any way. I don't think he's going to end up being pushed out or marginalized, like, you brought me all these problems, you got to go. I don't see that happening. I think he's going to be like, you did a good job. Okay, maybe I'll throw you some more crumbs, that sort of thing.
No, the one thing that Trump likes the most is loyalty. He's transactional.
Yep.
And, he supports it. But at the other side, if things go south for him, he'll be the first to throw him under the bus. I mean, loyalty is a one-way street here.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I just don't think we've reached that point. Yeah. I think he's still useful to him. And also, again, the damage has been done because, hey, Jimmy Kimmel's coming back, but under what requirements or grounds? What was was there an agreement? Was he now going to, because I remember hearing at one point, there was something about him needing to apologize to the Kirk family and giving a donation to Turning Point or something. I don't know if that was substantiated, but I heard rumors that was going to be part of any kind of return, any part of his return to the air.
Well, that's what Sinclair wanted, which owns some of the affiliates. Sinclair wanted that. I can't see Jimmy Kimmel agreeing to that unless ABC told him that we'll pay for you. But I don't think it's going to happen. In fact, I think the opposite. I think Jimmy Kimmel's going to come back unleashed, just like Stephen Colbert did, right? I think that he's looking like, hey, now I'm emboldened. I have survived the worst. What can they do to me now they haven't done already? And so he's going to go back at it. Because after all, what he said about Charlie Kirk and Trump and the Republicans was really mild. It was like, there is a difference between when you're a comedian, you make a joke that really was not offensive. He was calling out MAGA, and then you compare that to some people who are literally dancing on Charlie Kirk's grave. That's different. Those two things are different. And if you can't distinguish between the two, then it's hard to have this conversation.
And again, comedy, like the whole genre of comedy is pushing the envelope, is a lot of times, I mean, there are a lot of comedians that I find offensive, like, and not funny, right? But that's the whole genre. So again, when you're attacking the comedians, what chance do people who just want to share their opinion have when you're talking about something in the form of satire, and that's not permissible? Imagine when you actually say what you really think and mean. To me, it's that chilling effect is what's a concern. And while Jimmy Kimmel got his job back, there are university professors that are out of a job. There are school teachers that are out of a job. There are other people who have said things that weren't even in the context of humor, that were just like, these are his words, or these were my, why I'm feeling this way. And not even to the point, again, in my opinion, that it was, yay, so glad he's dead. Obviously, clearly, that's a problem. But if you're repeating the words that he literally used in life, and then you're now penalized for that, this is a dangerous, slippery slope in terms of what First Amendment and free speech means in this country.
You're right. Context matters, and the speech you say actually matters. It does matter because you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, but you can scream at the top of your lungs in an action movie how you feel. I mean, it does matter what you say, how you communicate it. So that's why we have these discussions. That's why we do these duets here between the two of us, a resident legal diva, Melba Pearson, and me, a.k.a. the Florida LawMan, Dave Aronberg. Thank you for watching Legal AF, and thank you for subscribing. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. I do this, Melba. I'm used to it because that's when the button is supposed to appear.
Right, yeah, I'm like, yeah,
there
it
is.
Just click, super easy.
Right. Thank you to the audience. We appreciate your support. Melba, I'll see you next time.
See you soon, Dave.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.